the arrival of the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, who would have come in from Grenada yesterday. We are also in the presence of Mayor Shinwale, Mayor of Port-of-Spain, Ministers Alison West, Simon de Nobrega, Randall Mitchell, Minister Hussein from Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, and it is African Emancipation Day. We've already had Freedom Morning Come, a play by N2 Pearl Springer at the Treasury Building, and we're getting ready to give thanks with the event called Yedesi.
Welcome.
The Prime Minister is here, and we actually take his entrance as he approaches and rises the dais.
Rowley.
So right next to the Prime Minister, we have to his right, we have the Executive Director of the Emancipation Support Committee, Sister Zakia Uzoma Wadada, and next to him we have Vice Chancellor of the UWI, Sir Hilary Beckles, who is going to be giving one of the feature addresses today. Most likely this one will be at the Lejiasu Omawale village. Right now on stage we have Shabaka Kambon, who will be chairing the event. He's also chair of the Caribbean Freedom Project. We cross to him now for the beginning of this program.
Members of the Diplomatic Corps are very special guests for this year's Emancipation. The leader of the reparations movement of the Caribbean, Sir Hilary Beckles. Let's give him a special round of applause. This is the leading luminary in the world on the question of reparations, and he is our special guest this year. We will hear more from him later today. We also want to welcome members of the media and you, brothers and sisters, without whom emancipation couldn't be what it is. And now I want to invite us all to stand for the national anthem. Brothers and sisters, we will now have the libation from Brother Ikino Moyo, Director of the Emancipation Support Committee.
Mokien Babawa, Mokien Iawa, Mokien Omowa, Mokien Ekbowa, Ekabo, peace be unto all. Welcome to Dr. the Honorable Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Keith Rowley, welcome to the Minister of Culture and the Arts, Senator Randall Mitchell. Welcome to the Minister of Foreign and Caribbean Affairs, Dr. Emily Brown. Welcome to all other members of the Cabinet of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Diplomatic Corps. Welcome Welcome to our special guest, Professor Hilary Beckles. Welcome all fathers. Welcome all mothers. Welcome all brothers and sisters. Welcome to the children. Greetings in the name of our glorious and courageous ancestors, those who are near and those who are far, requesting respectfully that they bear witness to all that we say and do as we begin this Kambule, the March of Freedom 2024. A happy, positive, reflective, and introspective African emancipation to all who have gathered here today and all other members of our national community, as well as all our visitors from abroad. This morning, we converge at this historic site to commemorate the 186th anniversary of African emancipation, of our ancestors from enslavement.
Yeah! Oh, hi! Today I have my friends with me, and we're going to talk about... That's right, Auntie! T-E-M...
The capital city of Trinidad and Tobago attaining city status. It must be...
Do you know any other...
They were liberating themselves in this hemisphere from such a system of human bondage where they were considered as property since 1502. In fact, it was in 1502 that the first Maroons took to the hills in Hispaniola, that big island in the Caribbean shared between Haiti and the Dominican Republic, to free themselves from such humiliating and savage conditions. And these liberation struggles continued up to 1888, when South American countries of Argentina, Colombia, Chile, Bolivia, Uruguay, Ecuador, Peru, Venezuela, and Brazil proclaimed emancipation. Undoubtedly, our existence as an African people did not begin in enslavement. Let's understand that. So we are here in remembrance of all our ancestors who, according to Professor James Small, left us a legacy of great civilizations and a great body of literature, both written and oral, as well as the great institutions of philosophy, science, and religion in Kemet, known to us today as Egypt, in Nubia, in Ethiopia, West Africa, Zimbabwe, South Africa, just to name a few. In addition, we are here to remember and pay our respects and appreciation to our ancestors who survived the disruption of their communities and the rupturing of their lifeline on the African continent. Further, we are here to remember those who suffered and those who survived the horror and humiliation of the Middle Passage, and all those who survived the indignities and injustices experienced under chattel enslavement in the Americas and the Caribbean. Equally significant, we are here to remember their strengths, our ancestors' strength, their courage, and their resilience in staying the course that was traumatic and humiliating, but they survived so that their sons and daughters can live in a world they are helping to reshape amidst the many challenges. Today, We also show our gratitude to the many African ancestors, and we salute the multitudes who throughout history have contributed to the advancement of human civilization. Through their work in diverse fields such as science, aerospace, transportation, healthcare, agriculture, engineering, information technology, culture, and the arts. Despite their enslavement and exclusion and their consequential psychological pains. Now, African conception teaches us that as we remember our ancestors through the libation we are about to pour, what in fact we are doing is keeping them alive, thus energizing our national, regional, and international communities. The libation energizes the ancestors, and they in turn energize us, since they are responsible for the gifts, the talents, and the achievements of our people. When we pour this libation, we acknowledge our ancestors for giving us life, for being the source of inspiration, and the energy transferred during this act builds the consciousness of our being as a people. This consciousness will empower us in our efforts to continue the growth and development of our community, thus confronting the many contemporary challenges we face as a people, now and in the future, with dignity and courage. Now the occasion that we commemorate will always bring a joy to our hearts and a smile to our faces, according to Frederick Douglass. Indeed, the efforts of our ancestors along life's journey have lit the pathways for those of us who have since come into this world, and those efforts will continue to be a light to our contemporary efforts, designed to give hope towards a brighter future. For out of seemingly difficult periods of our lives springs hope. A hope that generates our desire for a better and more successful tomorrow. One that sets the tone for those yet to come. It is for this reason that we begin this Camboulet with the understanding that we need to commune with our ancestors by pouring this libation in their honor. May we all stand for the libation, please. Those who are seated, please stand for the libation. Eshulegba, guardian of the crossroads, show us the way to walk and guide us during this activity that we are embarking upon. Just as the crossroads represents the meeting place of the human and the divine, So too, may our activities during this Cambule meet favor with the divine as we focus on the theme, moving forward with our heads up. Ashe, 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 it is done. Olodumare, Creator, owner of the space we occupy, allow us the use of this space with your blessings. The streets in our city of Port of Spain, as we move through these streets to the Libation Omowale village. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Obatala, the creator of dry land, grant us that the seeds we sow in this space will bear fruits. Seeds in the minds of our people, fruits in their results. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Amenwa, the source of all life force, who rises in the heavens, the God who created men and women, be with us, provide a protective shield throughout this Cambule. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. We have this Cambule in honor of many of our ancestors, those who have walked tall on this earth and who have made significant contributions to the development of humanity in the past and on whose shoulders we stand today. Of the many, we call just a few. Imhotep, Senefu, Khufu, Queen Nzinga, Ya Asantewa, Nani, Toussaint, Dessalines, Christophe, Bookman, McCandle, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Henry Sylvester Williams, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, Elmer Francois, George Padmore, Claudia Jones, Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King, Audrey Jeffers, Jim Barrett, Kwame Nkrumah, Tuba Uriah Bus Butler, Dr. Eric Williams, Chick Anti-Diop, Clement Payne, C.L.R. James, Lancelot Kibo Lane, Libation Omowale, Kwame Ture, Baba Sam Phil, Kwame Mushrubani, Urunko Baka, Dudley Thompson, Jaja Onilu, Professor Anthony Martin, Nelson Mandela, Lasana Kwesi, Anum Bankole, Dr. Ben Yokanan, Muhammad Ali, Patrick Manning, Makandal Daga, Tracy Wilson, John Cupid, Winnie Mandela, Baba Irene Fulami, Leroy Clark, Brother Resistance, Lutalu Masimba, and Brother Ifoma Soyinka. As we sing and dance through the streets of Port of Spain, we let their spirits dance. Brother David Michael Rudd. Our responsibility to all those summoned and all others not mentioned is what this activity is all about. We acknowledge them here for giving us life, for being our collective consciousness, and for the spirituality with which we think. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. I thank you.
I want to give a special thanks to our elder here, Brother Ikino, who has been in that institution of eldership since the 1970s. He's a very special elder. If your child shows promise in education and his grades don't match his capacity, call Uncle Ikino. He runs a school that has rescued many of our children and put them on the path to academic success. I want to give him a special round of applause, please, setting the tone today. And while we salute Elder Ikino Moyo, I saw Elder Bill Trotman. I want to take this opportunity to salute all the elders who are here with us today. And now I want to invite our beloved mother, Sister Zakia Uzoma Wadada, the Executive Chair of the Emancipation Support Committee, to join us at the podium.
Good morning, everyone. The glorious morning has come. 186 years ago, on this day, August 1st, we were granted emancipation. This morning, I want to welcome and thank for being here the Honorable the Honorable Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you so much, Prime Minister, for continuing to see this as a must-come event for you. I welcome the Honorable Randall Mitchell, Minister of Tourism, Culture and the Arts, His Worship Chinua Townsend, Mayor of the City of Port of Spain, who started the morning with us, and most likely I hope you'll spend the whole day with us. Thank you so much for joining us at the Panyard this morning for the early libation. And those of you who have never come, you need to join us when we start the morning paying homage to our ancestors at the Trinidad All-Stars Panyard. I want to thank our elder Ekuno Moyo, director of ESCTT, and our spiritual elder. And of course, I want to thank the founding chairman of the Emancipation Support Committee, Dr. Kafra Kambon, who is here with us and upon whose shoulder I stand. I welcome the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Amory Brown, the Honorable Amory Brown, and all the other ministers who have joined us. I would love to call each of them one by one, but please accept by recognizing you all as members of the cabinet, senators. Thank you all for being here. But thank most of all to all of you out there who understand the importance of this day and the importance of us gathering together in unity to remember our ancestors, to share in the joy of having gained our emancipation. Although this remains a work in progress, but we continue to celebrate the gains that we have made while we move forward with our heads up, paying attention to the struggles that still lie ahead. Trinidad and Tobago in 1984 declared Emancipation Day a public holiday. It is the first independent country to do so. And through the hard work, sacrifice, and immense challenges, the Emancipation Support Committee, with support from the government and other institutions, but leading this charge, have made with our passion and commitment, have grown this celebration to what it is today. And we have a lot to be proud of. It is the only event, perhaps, where we gather thousands and thousands of people on the streets of Port of Spain without a single incident that requires attention by the authorities. And that is something that we need to be proud of. What it is about this celebration, what it is about the energy that we feel on this day, as we feel when we celebrate ourselves, that brings out the best in us. And I do think that that, again, is something we have to pay attention to. That the more we connect with self, the more we connect with our culture, the more we begin to understand who we are, the more we begin to love ourselves and be proud of who we are, the better our society shall be. And therefore, the celebration of emancipation in Trinidad and Tobago is a national celebration. It's not just for the African population in the sense that the freedom of Africans from enslavement is a gain for all humanity. Because none of us would have wanted to live in a world where a major ethnic group would have been enslaved, and this had happened for 400 years. So the emancipation of our people was an emancipation for all people. And we give thanks for the opportunity to continue to celebrate this day. Trinidad and Tobago has to become the Mecca for the celebration of emancipation worldwide. It is the first country, the first independent state to declare Emancipation Day a holiday. And therefore, we need to see it as such. We need to understand the significance of this day, not only to us here in Trinidad and Tobago, our Caribbean, but to the world. And I do hope that as we move forward, as we continue to grow, that understanding also continues to grow about the value of what this is, the treasure that we have, and that we continue to build it and grow it, not only for the benefit of ourselves, but for our children, for those that yet to come, to help us to reconnect with self so that the society can be transformed and our people can be empowered. Thank you.
Powerful message there from our executive chair. Sharing her vision for Trinidad to become the Mecca for the celebration or the commemoration of the end of chattel slavery around the world. And Sister Zakia reminded us that in 1984 we became the first country in the world. I just want to share that in the the idea of commemorating the end of chattel slavery was advanced by an African abolitionist formerly enslaved in various theaters in the Caribbean in the 1780s. His name was Otoba Cuguano, and in the 1780s, he said that there would come a time when we would need to designate days of mourning to commemorate the harm committed and the horrible injury of making merchandise of our people. That is what we are celebrating today in the name of our ancestors. Thank you very much. And now, brothers and sisters, I want us to welcome to the podium His Worship Chinua Townsend, the Mayor of Port of Spain.
Thank you all very much, Master of Ceremonies. The protocols having been established, ladies and gentlemen, please permit me simply to recognize Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and to recognize him specially this morning for the decision that the cabinet that he leads took to declare today African Emancipation Day. And of course, our special guest for our celebrations today, the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles. All other members of the government, executive members of the Emancipation Support Committee, my colleagues on the Council of the City of Port of Spain, ladies and gentlemen. This morning I participated in the ritual at All Stars Spaniard for the first time. I think that was my first baptism for the day. A short while ago I was rebaptized as Chinua Townsend. But I want to thank the Emancipation Support Committee for the work that they have done in building this Pan-African festival here in the city of Port of Spain. It has been a pleasure for the Council of the City of Port of Spain to support the committee and to support the festival in all of its glory as it commemorates today. And there's a story that I've told before, and I think it's important to tell it again, because emancipation is about telling the story of our history. And the history of this emancipation celebration, this African emancipation celebration today, and the history of the Council of the City of Port of Spain are both inextricably linked. In 1887, a gentleman by the name of Emmanuel Mazumbo Lazar was the first local to make the call for the celebration of emancipation here in Trinidad and Tobago. He made that call in a petition to Queen Victoria asking for August 1st, 1888 to be declared Emancipation Day. In 1903, after the culmination of the water riots that saw the Red House burn flat to the ground, 3 persons were arrested and charged for leading those riots. One of those persons was the same Emmanuel Mazumbo Lazar. He was eventually acquitted of all of those charges. And in 1914, when the Council of the City of Port of Spain, when the council was reconstituted, there was the Borough Council that was abolished in 1899. When it came back into being and we were reincorporated in 1914, that very same Emmanuel Mazumbo Lazar was elected to the first council of the City of Port of Spain. So that we in the council take a lot of pride in supporting this festival, as we take pride in supporting all festivals. We are committed to encouraging this sort of heritage activity in the city. We are committed to encouraging the journey to and through emancipation, and we are committed to celebrating this year and forevermore African Emancipation Day on August 1st in the city of Port of Spain. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the city of Port of Spain. Happy African Emancipation Day, and I look forward to journeying with all of you on our annual pilgrimage. Thank you very much.
My apologies to His worship there. The Honorable Chinua Alain. Make sure we get that right. And of course, we want to thank him for invoking the memory of our great venerable ancestor, Umzombo Lazar, who, like so many of those whose struggle for the freedoms we enjoy today, who gave their lives for the freedoms we enjoy today, and are not properly memorialized in our public spaces. We instead prefer, up to today, and of course, the Prime Minister and the government has instituted a committee to look into the question of renaming streets and changing monuments and so on. But up to today, we continue to memorialize those who enslaved our ancestors, those who committed genocide on our indigenous residents, citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, the first people of this country, and those who committed other atrocities rather than those like Mzombo Lazar, who sacrificed for the freedoms we enjoy today. And now, I want to invite the Honorable Randall Mitchell, and I got that right, I'm sure, the Minister of Tourism, Culture, and the Arts, to address us.
Shabaka. Allow me to recognize Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, my fellow cabinet colleagues, members of the diplomatic corps out in their numbers, His Worship, the first citizen of the city of Port of Spain, Mr. Chinua Alain, Ms. Zakia Wadada, Executive Chair of the Emancipation Support Committee, Elder Equino Moyo, Director of the Emancipation Support Committee, our special guest, Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Sir Hilary Beckles, and Dr. Kafra Kambon, founding member of the Emancipation Support Committee. Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and happy African Emancipation Day. Today, we join to commemorate the 186th anniversary of the emancipation of enslaved Africans in British colonies. Today, we also join together to move forward with our heads up, acknowledging the profound significance of the enduring spirit of our ancestors. Trinidad and Tobago stands proud, as we have heard already, as the first country to honor our African ancestors and their descendants by commemorating African emancipation with the declaration of August 1st as African Emancipation Day. On this day, we reflect on our ancestors who endured the brutalities of slavery and fought bravely for their freedom. But more than that, today, we also pay tribute to the unrelenting spirit of our people and contemplate our continuing journey towards justice, equality, and dignity. African Emancipation Day must be recognized as a cornerstone of our national identity. The legacy of our African ancestors is evident in every facet of our society. Of particular importance to us is the African influence on our arts and culture, such as our carnival arts, calypso, soca, and the national musical instrument of Trinidad and Tobago, the steel pan, which have all become synonymous with our cultural identity. It is a legacy that continues to inspire and shape us, and we pay tribute to those ancestors who paved the way. We at the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts remain committed to the preservation and the investment in the cultural development of all our art forms. We understand that our culture is not static. It is dynamic, ever evolving, and a vital part of our national fabric. And for that reason, we continue to support this Pan-African festival, ensuring that our proud African traditions and heritage are preserved, celebrated, and passed on to future generations. In that light, I would like to commend the Emancipation Support Committee for their dedication and hard work in coordinating another successful year of this Pan-African festival here in Trinidad and Tobago. As we embark upon the street procession, or Kambule, let us remind ourselves of the defiant spirit of our forefathers and the song, dance, and drumming as forms of resistance and expression, which has played a crucial role in shaping who we are as a people. These are our forebears, our ancestors, who fought valiantly against oppression and injustice, and who dreamt of a future where freedom and equality would be the birthright of all. Today we are a people proud and strong, honoring the past, celebrating the present, and looking forward with great anticipation to a future filled with even greater promise and potential. We must pledge to work together to build a society that values and respects the dignity and humanity of every individual. Ladies and gentlemen, happy African Emancipation Day.
Powerful words there from Minister Mitchell. And let's give him another round of applause, brothers and sisters. And I noticed that Minister Mitchell and his worship, Brother Alain, have both emphasized the word African before Emancipation Day. They put some emphasis there. And I've given a lot of thought to that in recent times. And perhaps it's going to help us to banish the label of Negro, that despicable label that was given to us during the period of enslavement. You know, I still meet, even after all the work that was done since the 1970s, since the dawn of the Emancipation Support Committee in the 1990s, and all the work done before, people who refer to themselves in this country as Negroes. They talk about a Negro boy and a Negro girl. When I can't get through to them, I remind them that the word Negro girl is not, correct English. I invite them to look in a dictionary for the word negress. That's the word that accompanied Negro, the two species. The species had the female and the male. The male was the Negro, and the woman was the negress. And I asked them if they would like to be called a negress. And the word sort of grates. And I think that tends to get them to consider whether or not to move on from that term. You know? So this morning, before I invite our head of government, I'm going to invite all of us to say with me the words of one of our great Pan-African leaders who said, "We are not African because we are born in Africa, but because Africa is born in us." I want you to repeat that with me. We are not African because we are born in Africa, but because is born in us. We are not African because we are born in Africa, but because Africa is born in. Thank you, brothers and sisters. And now I will invite Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and the man who proclaimed Emancipation Day, African Emancipation Day, to join us this morning.
Thank you very much, my brother. A very good morning, a blessed morning, a historic morning in a historic place to all of you gathered here in the city of Port of Spain. Permit me to acknowledge the first citizen of this city, Mayor Chinua Allen, my cabinet colleagues, and all the members of the hard-working and so relevant Emancipation Support Committee. And a very special welcome to my friend and colleague, Professor Hilary Beckles, leading our reparation, conversation, and international narrative. Welcome to Port of Spain. Welcome to our celebration of African emancipation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not my intention at this point in time, at this late hour of the morning, to detain you when you want to march along the street of Port of Spain in reflection of what we listen to, what we know, and what we associate with. But permit me a moment to say that there are some words that matter a little more than others. One of those words is respect. It is precisely because we, the people of African heritage, when we made contact or when contact was made with us, those who advanced their interests and their agenda had very little respect for us, our lives, our culture, and our future. And as we were brought to these places out of an economic requirement on the part of some, that respect was never offered. It was always for those who believe that they respected themselves, placed themselves above others, and acted accordingly. But as was said here this morning, our people never accepted to be second, third, or fourth class. I remember as a child reading a book, very nice cover, but in that book, human beings of the Caribbean were described in about 12 categories, depending on how African or black you were. At the top, how much melanin you didn't have. So you were a quarter of this and a quarter of that, three-quarter of this, and they were names to suit. However, thankfully, some respect began to come our way when those who suffered decided to resist, and out of it came some leadership. I can tell you that respect is still required because it is not offered easily or gratuitously. The people of Trinidad and Tobago, the African people of Trinidad and Tobago, need to focus on the word respect, starting with respecting those of our ancestors, those who were there when the hardships were meted out, those who were there when the categorization was laid out, and those who were there who survived it so that we could be the progeny of their strength and their resilience. Today, we need to respect their effort as we respect ourselves. Because out of that respect will come a desire to be the best that we can be against advice that we are worth nothing or that we are limited in what we can achieve or that we are less than we anticipate. Ladies and gentlemen, if we deliberately, through our education and our acceptance of our location in the world's economy, the world's politics, the world's geography. If we accept and respect our place in there, we will resist, and we will grow, and we will grow. Ladies and gentlemen, I would have to look very deeply with me to understand that 186 years ago, there were people in this island, or these islands, who really believed, genuinely believed, that there will be a nation called Trinidad and Tobago, where the people would reflect on their ancestors, pay them homage, and set out on a journey to ensure that their children, for another 1,000 years or more, would be equal to any that the world has to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, let us take pride in our ancestry. Let us not be afraid to proclaim our Africanness, especially in today's world, where Africa is rising and rising to meet us. Let us not be found wanting. It is an absence of respect that was cemented on this very ground, in this very location, when the proclamation was read, saying that the people were free, the enslaved were free. And in that document, which was law of the day, of the time, no one handing out that considered the injustice of disregarding the condition and the contribution and the situation of the enslaved who were now supposed to be free. Freedom is something that we will have to continue to demand, and respect is something that we'll have to continue to demand. In a few months, the Caribbean leaders would meet the rest of the Commonwealth leaders in Samoa. It's a very interesting time because Sir Hilary Beckles have been leading the intellectual arguments. The CARICOM has a body of people, many of them intellectuals of one kind or another, or leaders of one kind or another, demanding more loudly and more persistently at this time that, as Martin Luther said, the arc of freedom bends towards justice. We here gathered are on that arc. We genuinely believe that it will bend to a point and a day when justice would be recognized by all, and it would be handed to those who deserve it. So when we meet in Samoa, the Caribbean leaders took a decision this week to very forcefully speak to the Commonwealth as one voice. And there's one particular country with a new king and a Labour government with an outstanding mandate. And we look forward to the reaction in October. Because I believe that until respect of our people becomes acknowledged by those who hold authority, African people will continue to be viewed as second and third class, and we will continue to have to fight for freedom and respect. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not afraid of that fight. Our ancestors were not afraid to resist, whether it was Sandy, Dessalines, or Toussaint. And we, in the 21st century, must continue the conversation and must continue the demand. So this morning, in the city of Port of Spain, those gathered here and those who will join us, and those looking on, let us as one happy, strong, resilient people not be afraid of our identity, not be afraid of our history, but with respect for all, particularly ourselves and our ancestors, take up our place, our rightful place in the world society and the world that we live in, which is sometimes so harsh and so unfair. will come out on the street, and hopefully next year we'll have more of our young people with us. Because without them, the fight will not be as effective as it should be. A lot of our young people are totally unaware of our circumstance and our history. It needs to be taught. It needs to be spoken about. It needs to be lived and relived. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's a glorious life. It's a glorious place, but we have to ensure that our portion is had by those for whom it is deserved. So let us go out this morning through the streets of Port-au-Spain in our resplendent colors to remind ourselves and all those who look in our direction or listen to our songs and our drums that in Trinidad and Tobago, in the diaspora, African people are recognizing and respecting. Thank you very much for your support for the work and the effort. Thank you very much for your identification with this event. Thank you very much for acknowledging that we are the children of the African. Thank you very much.
Brothers and sisters, we could do better than that. Respect. I have in front of me here, and I can't break protocols. They cannot speak after the Prime Minister, so I'm not saying anything. I just want to share this. I'm going to give this to Dr. Sir Hilary Beckles here. It's called Confronting the Past to Free the Future. Civil Society Report on National Monuments, Memorials, Markers, Signs, and Symbols that glorify colonial violence, racism, and white supremacy. This is the work of the Emancipation Support Committee and the Caribbean Freedom Project. We have already turned a draft over to the Prime Minister's committee. Today we are going to take the opportunity to turn this over to the head of the Reparations Commission of the Caribbean. And of course, we're going to turn this over in the next 2 days to the media of Trinidad and Tobago so they could see what civil society says has to be done about the people and values that we celebrate in this country. And of course, in the name of respect, as the Prime Minister says. Let's give him another round of applause. And I present this document. And of course, brothers and sisters, the Prime Minister has declared Emancipation 2024 officially begun. African Emancipation Day. All right, brothers and sisters, let us begin. I see our brothers and sisters are lined all the way up the promenade, waiting for us to come that way. Let us start the procession. Thank you.
So there we've had it, the Yadesi giving thanks with greetings by the members of the panel. We had Brother or Baba Ikino Moyo doing the libation. We had Zakia Uzoma Wadada giving greetings as well. Randall Mitchell, Minister of Tourism, Culture and the Arts, and then the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley. We are now going to join the procession, Kambole to the Lid, Yasu Omowale village, while the dignitaries are taking the opportunity to have some photos before they join the procession. And one of the things I like about the African Emancipation procession is that sometimes when people agree with a point, instead of clapping, you hear shaks rattling and people ululating. But we continue the footage. We'll give you a little bit of what is happening with people in their finery of all ethnic descriptions. Another beautiful thing about Trinidad and Tobago as they make their way to the Lij Yasu Omowale village for Rhythm and Voices of Africa. And that will begin later. But we thank you for paying attention at this point in time. And we make way for the Kambole procession as it is going to be taking place. I'm DK Roster. Thank you so much for viewing.
looking at the clouds. Where are the clouds? That's correct, they're in the sky. So what position would he have to be in? Now, if you read the poem, in your mind, you can't say he's standing because he said that hours pass. Can you stand for hours and just do this? Would you be comfortable? No. So in your mind, you must eliminate standing. And you might even eliminate sitting because you would have a similar neck strain. So there's only one position left, and that's correct. The poet was lying on the ground. And where was he lying on the ground? Could he have been lying on the ground in his room? Is that possible? Why is it not possible? And this is where the thinking process must go. You must question yourself to know if you are right or if you are wrong. And then you go back to see what line supports the poem. So what line supports the fact that he was lying on the ground? Look it through. I think we might find it in the first stanza. What line or what word? And there it is. As I lay upon my back looking at the sky. The words lay and back there help us to figure out what's going on. And let's look at the third question. Explain the words, from my imagination, a million images did escape. How would you go about explaining that line? Where is your imagination? Where was the poet's imagination? Was it in the sky? No, it's in his mind. And that's your first level of thought. So you know already that it's in his mind. And what does he do with it? What is an imagination? How does it work? And what is the connection to this poem? And all these things you must think about. There he is on his back looking at the cloud, and images are leaving his imagination. And then if it is you still don't get the answer, you put yourself in the situation. If I was lying on my back looking at clouds for hours, what activity would I do? And I'm sure you're saying I might start to see animals in the sky, or different cars or vehicles or different things. And that's where the images of the imagination come. So when you go to explain that now, you ensure that you cover all those things. And when it says explain the words, explain means your opinion. And you make sure and you justify your opinion well. So you say, the words, from my imagination, a million images did escape, explains